Let's talk about dueling pianos. We do that. We gig.
We do. So short story is this, right? I'm an old, grizzled, mean, cranky duelist. I think, how long have I been dueling, man? I think it's been over a 10-year span of duelies. Yeah. 2010, 2011. So I'm old. I'm an old grizzled guy. You were probably in freaking high school when I was beginning my duelist.
It's true.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Ancient. I'm an old grizzled guy. So anyway, there I was dueling about. Annalyse and I were writing some music. I needed a duelist. I said, look, man, you're really brilliant. Like, this won't be hard for you. You already sing with your face. You play the piano. You know songwriting, so you could probably learn songs fast. And, I manipulated you into it. Basically, I'm a mean, evil person,
Yeah. I rolled over my overly agreeable self, was like, sure. It was intense because we were both working the full-time guys, and I was coming off some long work days and just hopping in the dually saddle. Maybe some people don't know what dueling pianos is. Sometimes I tell people that I duel, and they're, first off, when you say duel and you don't say piano after, they're like, did you take up fencing? Are you like sword fighting? I'm like, holy cow, do I look like a medieval queen of duels? No, of course not. I don't duel to deal with my arguments and conversations with people.
I mean, as a precious little thumb that you are, I could see you whooping some face with like a fencing foil, or potentially like an ancient like revolver, like just going to town on somebody, just like unexpectedly gangster. So I mean, I don't know, man. I see what. Okay, so dueling pianos, right? What's the idea? There's two pianists. They're singing and playing piano, and they're going to play whatever songs you want. And the pianos are like this, right? Because the piano's like oh God, me drawing things. So scary. There's like a long side and there's a curved side to a piano, right? So if the pianos are put together like this, it looks like two guns pointing at each other. This is also called shotgunning pianos. So my assumption is there's no real scientific data on this, but I think it's because it looked like two little guns pointing at each other.
That's cute. I hope that's real history. I hope that's not Nick history. But even if it is, it's cute.
It's Nick history because like there's no confirmed. But I can't imagine another explanation. So just to clarify, did you and I ever shoot each other or stab each other in the making of these films?
Verbally, yes. But in real life, in real execution, pardon the word usage, no.
In the verbiage, yes. In the real lives, no. There was no one was injured in the making of this film, bro. Come on now. You can't throw me under the bus like that.
We're both turds. That's the point of the story. And we duel on the pianos. So yeah, Nikki called in the reinforcements of amateurs for whatever dumb reason. I said yes. And here we are, a good handful in, and all variety of event types and venues and people and requests. And, Nick has like 10 years on me and I'm just a couple months in, but it's a good time. So Nick, you had some kind of agenda with this conversation. I'm going to stop gabbing on.
You just set it up perfect. That was a perfect setup. T-ball for Uncle Nicky, dude.
Beautiful.
So I'm going to just like go ahead and go on this rant, and I don't care what you say. You were freaking awesome. You were so natural. You were just like a beast. You're a built-in, baked-in beast. You're a banimal at dueling pianos. A beast and an animal, a friggin' banimal. Dude, it was like, basically a minimum is like 25 to 30 songs to get through a night, right? That's a lot of songs. Even for most bands, that's a lot. Annalyse learned those 20 or 30. Is it 15 days? 10 days?
It was a short guy. So basically, I've committed to at this point in my life, I was like, I've done too many hard things. I don't want to do more hard things, especially last minute. But I kind of was also semi committed to saying yes to things I hadn't tried in the musical realm. Gosh, when you make that a whole life mantra, that's a scary. That is dueling your life right there. So Nikki was like, we were writing, I think, and he was kind of general qualms complaining about life, as we always do when you're writing together and spending a lot of time together. The complaints of life come up. And he was like, yeah, I don't have a fellow dually for this gig coming up. It's this date. And I was like, oh yeah, that's like no time from now. I think it was pre-Thanksgiving and it was like the weekend after. So like over a holiday at that. And I was like, I mean, I could do it. And he'd already kind of like jokingly jabbed at me about this, about me doing it. And so, you know, I committed and it was really scary. And I think the follow-up was you sent me like a really ghetto list of songs. Like half the song titles weren't even the actual titles of the songs. Like they were just keywords that I had to Google myself. But most requested female-led songs, and I whipped those right out of my pants. I don't know how. I don't know. There was so much practicing happening. And I was working and it was Thanksgiving. Just the whole thing.
It was raw and pure chaos. And then like, yeah, it was not only a dually gig, because usually they start the beginner dualies at a club, you know, where like there's hopefully 3 dually players. So there's 2 dually players to help out. There's a drummer, like there's a little bit more mercy for the, no, this was 2 of us. And it was a private event. And I'm going, you know, you're not a nice person, Nick. You're really a terrible human being. But it was at this beautiful built out barn. It was I forget what they did. Do you remember what they did?
It was like a office holiday party.
Yeah, but what did they do in their office, in their corporate environment?
Air conditioning? It was something really like required for life, but really ordinary.
Represent my tradesmen, dude. It was an HVAC situation, and they were the best audience. They sang along to every song. They just loved Annalyse. They basically wanted to adopt her at the end of the night. It got really crazy, and it was a killer, dude. It was a killer gig. It was so much fun. She crushed it. The drummer was helping us out a lot. We had a drummer on that one. Old Backbeat was killing it, dude. It was a great night.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, there's at some point when you're preparing for a gig, if you've ever played a gig and you're listening, you know how this goes. You prep, you do everything in your possible, ever-loving control to be as prepared as possible. And then you get there and there's a moment where you have to kind of surrender to the whatever this situation is, right? So I was full panic mode. And then I settled in about 3 songs and I was like, I have to surrender or else I will look like so tightly wound, not performance vibes at all. And it's always better when you do that. It's always better to just be like, I surrender, I'm gonna have fun, doesn't matter what happens. I was still very tightly wound. But it was a good night. It was a good little first dually. No complaints.
So yeah. Listen, I got some questions. Because I remember the traumatic period of learning the dually songs, right? So, and I had a guy that trained me that was like crazy. He had worked at a place called Jelly Rolls in Orlando, Florida. And they were like the dueling piano Nazis. I don't know if I've ever told you this. The dueling piano Nazis, dude. If you sang a song, everything had to be memorized. You couldn't look up anything. And if you sang a lyric wrong, you had to like go write it on the whiteboard like 20 times.
Holy cow.
Yeah, like they're nuns whooping butts. Like it was crazy. So, okay. So I remember the trauma of learning all these songs. I hadn't heard of any of them. I felt like, dude, this is the sign that you needed to know that you're not a regular human being. You are a special little guy. Did you feel like you didn't know any of those songs? You hadn't heard them before, or a lot of them?
Yeah, it's funny because I mean a lot of my background is like very minimal pop, a whole lot of old classic like family songs from like, 30s, 40s, 50s. And then a whole lot of CCM worship, Christian stuff going on. So I knew titles and I knew artist names and I recognized some choruses from like literally going on vacation and hearing them in restaurants. Like that's barely any exposure. So these were all pretty much new to me. Whereas I was so resentful of my husband Jason because he grew up on all the classics, knows all the songs, and like can casually sing them. And it's just so unfair that I like don't know any of them from growing up. Like they were not baked into me, if you will. And purely because of background. And I'm not upset at my upbringing at all. It's just so funny how like two people could be living life together and one person knows like all of them from having a very classic childhood and I don't know any of them. So it makes it so much harder because not only are you having to learn like the nuances of the song, but you have to learn the chords, you have to learn the lyrics comfortably enough to not be staring at a screen. So it was a whole affair.
So what was your process? Did you like look up sheet music? Because for some of them, I'm not going to lie to you, I was like, could learn it by ear, not going to listen to it 10 times, going to pull up the sheet music, forget about it, lazy version. And then sometimes I would learn them completely by ear. Well, without the luxury of time, like how'd you go about learning all this stuff?
It's a good question. So I immediately made a playlist. That was number one. I think probably 60% of my pre-work for a gig is just listening and studying passively. And it's not always passive, but because I'm typically driving about, especially at that time in my life, I was working, so I had to choose the quickest, most passive way to learn music without having to like sit down and dedicate a bunch of time to it. So I made playlists and I listened to them constantly through all the work that I could that allowed my brain to be cued in enough to know what was happening. So on drives, and I listened to the bulk playlist a whole bunch, and then it got to a point where I could hum along to the melodies. And so I was doing that, and I was also layering in kind of stage 2 of queuing up charts and I was literally using guitar tabs, which is a pretty decent resource for just really basic chord charts. I was doing that, and I was kind of starting to visualize the charts as I was listening to the playlist passively. And then I would this is all happening really quickly. I'm talking about this as if it's drawn out. It's not. I would take 2 or 3 songs at a time and practice them like nobody's business in the original key with the recording so I could get the nuances. And then I would transpose it to the key I need to for my voice after that. So that's kind of how it happened. And every single night I tackled a different set of, 4 or 5 songs and I practiced them. I try not to like binge practice where I'm practicing for like 3 hours and then go a week without it. I was like an hour of like really focused practice on top of probably 3 hours of that day listening to the playlist. So it was like constantly just like rolling through the brain, and then an hour of super focused practice on a couple charts, enough to master them. And then the same thing every single day until the gig. And then the day of the gig, I think I probably did. I think I practiced the intros and the outros of every song that I had on that playlist of stuff. So
Dude.
Intense.
Oh yeah. What is on the Magic Tablet? Like, are you using Fourscore with some PDF files? Were you using like Ultimate Guitar? Like, what was your resource?
Oh gosh. The first one was really ghetto. So I use Ultimate Guitar tabs for all of them, but I always tweak them because some of those tabs are actual garbage, like not even the right chords.
Hot, wet, terrible garbage. The worst garbage.
Yeah. So the first one, I literally the first gig, maybe 2 and 3 gig too, I also put all the charts that I took guitar tabs and then I made them my own, formatted them differently, subbed out chords for the right chords, and then I put that all in a Word doc. How psychopathic of me was that? I think I was just like, I need a system and I need it quick and dirty. And it was certainly quick and dirty because Word doc, I was literally scrolling to find songs. Like, that was the worst. Nowadays, I use Songbook Pro. I love it. It's literally like a $5 app that you can load in each individual song. You can assign the key to it. You can add keywords, and then it has a master library, and you can add playlists. And you can transpose on the spot. You can auto scroll. You can link it to tracks. You could link it to a pedal if you want to use the pedal to like change charts. It's really great, and you can take notes over it and stuff like that. And that is how now I have multi playlists for types of gigs, and it's a really helpful tool.
This is how old I am. I would look up lyrics one at a time. I didn't even have a go-to lyric app. And then I wrote everything in a notebook because I would write the lyrics over and over again to memorize them. So I would I wouldn't pull the notebook up for the gig, but I would have the notebook with me, just like my little security blanket. Like, I've worked on this stuff. I'm going to be good. Okay. So look, I'm going to hit you with this.
Okay.
When you got there, you're like practicing this stuff. It's all psychotic. It's totally crazy town. You're learning this stuff. You make a system. You get there. You start playing. How does that feel to like practice all that stuff and then to see what's actually going to happen at these crazy gigs? How did that feel for you?
It felt simultaneously affirming of my ability and soul crushing. Because because this was so crammed, nothing was internalized to the extent that I would typically expect of myself. So these songs were not second nature. It wasn't like playing Happy Birthday. It was like roughing my way through, like trying to make best friends with a song that's barely an acquaintance. So it felt impressive that I could get through it, but there were a lot of moments where I expected faster recall, and the recall was not there. Like, the fingers had not received the message from the brain. But I will say it was shockingly pleasant, I guess, that people didn't mind that, and people's expectations were pretty low. So the level that I even had practiced my acquaintance songs was pretty decent enough for people to enjoy it and for them to get the gist of it. And then with the dueling piano concept, right, of like, in a perfect world, the other dueler is like filling in fun little licks and stuff. It really it was cool to see it all come together, and you add a drum beat and everything sounds better when you have some kind of rhythmic structure going on. That was really cool. It was scary because that I did not rehearse with any of that. So I was like, oh God, there's like a drum thing I have to like match now. And oh God, there's another guy that's like filling in holes and I don't know what to do with myself. So that part was maybe the most shocking, was like, oh wow, okay, so I practiced all of this kind of stripped back solo vibes, and now the whole scene, the whole crew showing up, and it was simultaneously amazing and horrifying.
What about the audience reaction? Can you believe how jacked everybody was for it, dude?
I can't.
They're jacked, dude.
It was like karaoke light amateur hour. Like, I can't believe that people get that hype for like dumb version of amazing tunes. Like, shocking. I have not, as a consumer of music, I've never been to a piano show out of desire to go to a piano show, probably because it's what I do, so it's not like appealing to me to go see a bunch of that on my own. So it's also kind of interesting to me that there's a whole market of this, that people are like, yeah, piano bar. And every time I tell people I do the dualies every once in a while, they're like, oh my gosh, we go to piano bars every time we're on vacation. I'm like, what? This is like an underground thing. People love this.
Dude, it's a special event special. If you go to a club, dude, bachelorette parties, they're going ham. Dude, you know, you've seen the I don't even know if we've done like a nonprofit like.
We did the water one.
Oh yeah, the water one. That's like not typical. So usually you're like, that was a massive room of humans. There's other ones where it's like, we're gonna do one soon, where it's just like a smaller event, like rural, like what are the name of those? You know, just like a little rural bar, and they're like tipping for songs, and we donated all the charity to people get jacked, dude. People are having so much fun. Then they're outbidding each other. This is the only gig where I will do the like you can outbid to stop the song thing, and it just becomes freaking pandemonium, dude. It's so bonkers.
Awesome.
But yeah, dude, birthday parties, man. People love this for their birthday parties. And then at the piano bars itself, the typical audience is people from out of town, special celebrations, like, and so it's this crazy group of like randos that are all digging this. The thing that's awesome to me about it is music isn't special for me to create anymore. And so when you like, someone can ask you for a song and you can create it for them and have it even sound remotely anything like what they're familiar with, especially if you can do vocal emulation or whatever, you kind of sound like the singer and whatnot, people, it's magic. And I kind of forget that music is freaking magical. You know what I mean? Did that smack you around a little bit?
Oh yeah. I think especially seeing you do it, I was like, oh my gosh. Like the craziest requests, like the Usher songs on piano, like the songs you would just never expect to be on piano, and then the way that a musician interprets it is just, it's a lot of fun, and it's super creative, and you just kind of have to embrace the joke of it. I think I take myself too seriously, but I can shockingly channel the country voice. Like, I don't know, I think maybe I'm destined to be a country singer. It's I'm trying to fight it for as long as I possibly can until the money is like worth it. Someone's like, here's a large check. I'll be like, fine, I'll put on the cowboy boots. Damn it. But it's fun. It's a new it's a new challenge of creativity. That's like everything at once, which is also the psychotic chaos of it. But it's a good time.
Dude, we do country electropop, like mild country. Like if it was a salsa, it would be mild, right? Because like I can't say I'm familiar with baling hay very much, but I can fish. Can kind of drive a stick. You know, I'm like rural-ish. It's like mild salsa, compared to the typical. You know, dude, we got a little country flavor in there. I mean, good songwriting, right?
Good songwriting.
We're Midwestern. We're in the Midwest.
I guess.
We like lakes.
No boots. I don't want to wear the boots, okay? That's all I'm saying.
You don't
no hats either. I don't want the hats, the big hats.
You don't like the boots, though. The boots, really? Like, even like worker boots, like combat boot, Harley boots, no boots.
Oh, I guess I wear the, what are those black boots called? Doc Martens.
Yeah, there you go.
Those are like booties. Those are like emo booties. Those aren't like, I move dirt all day and I'm going to sing about my drinking problem and large truck.
Yeah, but dog, I mean, Doc Martens were not meant for emos. They stole it from people that actually work, right? So they're worker boots.
It's true.
It's just like, it's like country light. It's like we're like suburban rural border country. We're not like real country. Don't get any. Okay, well, whatever. I mean, have we sufficiently pottied? Do you feel pottied out?
Oh yeah. I hope that was enough dueling. That was like a dueling conversation. It was a whole affair. We'll talk more about it, I'm sure, because we do it pretty often. Nikki's making me feel like a celebrity flying me across the country to duel with him. It's a good time. Thank you for listening. If you have your own dueling experiences or you love going to piano bars, can you please explain why in the comments? What's your favorite request? What if you wanted to see us duel? What would you ask us to play? That's an interesting question.
Dude, if you ask real nicely, we might just do a jam kazam and sing your song for you. Okay. So
Ooh.
throw them in the comments, dude. Throw it on down there. I'll make a backing track. We'll make it almost not sound bad, except for I might sing.
I'll put my Doc Martens on. There'll be a boot appearance. Okay. You
Okay.
guys are lovely. Bye.
Love you. Bye.